Hello. Once again, time for one man's opinion, where this man gives his one opinion, or his opinions on some things. It's the first video in a while here in general, and I've been kind of 2023. It's not started off very good for me. So, well, that sucked. I've kind of been trying to deal with things, and one of the things I do when I deal with it is starting last year, actually in 2022, started getting into a show that's certainly not new, but it's new for me, and that's I started watching Doctor Who. Now, this is a show that's been around for decades, but more specifically, I started watching the 2005 revival season up to right now, where I'm about in the beginning of series 3, which is the second series with David Tennant. But so if I'm pretty sure you probably heard of Doctor Who before. It's a British sci-fi series about an alien that essentially time travels with a phone booth into different times, as well as different planets, getting into all sorts of adventures. And the Doctor, as he is known, or as they are known, is a 900-year-old Time Lord. A Time Lord is an alien creature that has two hearts. Basically, for the most part at least, seems to have the appearance of a normal humanoid type, but can regenerate its form to a very different look. Now, I haven't watched enough of the show yet to know all the references to that, but there's all sorts of things here, and Time Lords in general seem to not age and live quite a long life. And basically, the premise is Time Lord will show up, meet some girl, and then them and that woman will go around the cosmos and whatnot, getting in all sorts of capers. Anyway, so brief overview of that. There's probably people who could say it better than me, but so I will have to explain a few things here though, because this is going to be me kind of talking about the first series, the 2005 series, the revival series, which is the Ninth Doctor, the Christopher Eccleston Doctor. This guy right here. This is him in his Doctor look. And for what I've seen, has a very different kind of Doctor style, because he's got the leather jacket, and he's got kind of the casual clothes. Kind of reminds me of if John Moxley was a Time Lord. Okay, so a couple things here. Show you the TARDIS. Can't type. So this is the TARDIS. It is an acronym for time and dimension relative in space, and it is the device which Doctor Who, or all the Doctors, use to travel throughout time and space. It is a police telephone booth, a British police telephone booth, but once you go inside it, it's way more massive. It has a lot of contraptions, a lot of the standard sci-fi contraption stuff, as you do. So anyway, that's about the introduction here. Let's start talking about. This is probably the first part of a series where I'm going to talk about my experience so far. Like I said, I'm about the beginning of. I just finished episode 5 of series 3 of this. At some point, I probably will do more videos on this, but this will be part 1 of the Eccleston Ninth Doctor series. So, that being said, let's start with the first episode, which is called Rose. Now, the Rose in question is Rose Tyler. The other main character of this particular series, and who will continue on throughout the next series. So this is Rose Tyler, played by Billie Piper. She's a 20-year-old girl who I forget what she was working. She was working in an office setting. I think she was a secretary. Yeah, she was a secretary. I'm sorry, kind of doing this by memory here. So episode 1, she meets the Doctor, and he's chasing something down, and in the process, he's chasing down the things. he deals with some of these plastic men types, and he blows up her place of work. So she's out of a job. She goes home. Her mom isn't happy, and she starts talking about this mysterious man, and he happens to show up on the door about a few months later, and he starts using this tool called the sonic screwdriver, which I'm gonna have to show what that is. Hold on, just a minute. Just a minute here. Jesus, hard to type. Wait a minute. So this is the sonic screwdriver. This is a tool he has that can do a whole bunch of stuff. So he's using it to try to find a signal, and this signal is something that is controlling these plastic men. And plastic men are essentially just mannequins that have come alive. Pretty cool little concept. So this leads to her. Eventually, he leaves again. He goes in her house and he kind of says he's found the signal. He doesn't really need anymore. He leaves again, and she goes using her boyfriend's computer, who's a guy named Mickey Jones. Ooh, maybe I should tell him because he's gonna be important too. Be really prepared here. Wrong. Well, I went in the wrong page. What the hell? Sorry, Mickey Smith. Smith and Jones. Jones will be another character later on. Anyway, Mickey Jones. Mickey Smith. What the fuck? I keep doing that. The boyfriend of Rose Tyler, and he helps her track down this guy who's basically a conspiracy theorist dude she finds out on a website about this character known as the Doctor, and she sees pictures of him and he hasn't aged. This leads to once again them hooking up, and now she is asking for help to try to find a signal of who's making these plastic men come alive. And also, this is where she goes into TARDIS and sees all this stuff aside. So just give you a brief overview of Rose, because it's a really good episode. I would recommend watching it. Anyway, in the end, mild spoiler, I guess. The bad guys are foiled with some help from Rose. And the Doctor is basically like, you want to come with me? And she's like, nope. But then he's like, I can travel through time, right? And she's like, and she jumps it. There you go. And that brings us to episode 2, the end of the world. You know what? I'm going to it's easier myself. I'm going to go to HBO Max and read the episode titles over here. I watched these about 2 months ago now, around 2 months ago. And my memory ain't exactly what it used to be, but, I'm trying. But I do still retain most of what I saw, so I don't want to think. I just remember, some of the short deals. But also, I do think they're good episodes to watch on their own. So check them out if you get a chance. Anyway, so give me a sec. No, not you. No. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Dude, where's my car? Psh, let's look it up. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the end of the world. The apropos names. Yeah, the end of the world. So the end of the world is where they decide. The Doctor takes Rose to see the end of the world. As you guess, they're on a spaceship as the Earth is about to literally be destroyed by the sun exploding. And this is where I'm going to have to show another character. So they meet several aliens on this planet. And this other ship, this planet. But one of them they meet is this guy, the Face of Bo, who is a very wise creature who will be important later, by the way. He's said to be incredibly wise and smart and have lived a very long time. And that when he dies, he will expel some wisdom to the last person that he talks to right before he dies. So that'll be important. You can see that coming in later. So they're all kind of just chilling on this whole ship. And Doctor Who kind of befriends this woman here who kind of looks like Groot. And suddenly things start going haywire as the well. There's much to point out that the other character that's important is a character known as Cassandra, who is the last human on Earth, but she doesn't really look like a human. So let's look her over fast before we get to the Groot lady. This is the last human, so to speak, on Earth. Well, not on Earth, but in the galaxy or whatever. So she's Cassandra, and so her deal is she has basically had so much plastic surgery. She has just a flat layer of skin, and she has these bodyguards to constantly squirt her with moisturizer, or her skin will literally explode, basically. Anyway, things start going haywire because they are all scheduled on this ship to teleport away when the moment where the Earth dies happens. And they suddenly realize that they aren't set for that. They're all locked in the ship. And this is where things start getting complicated. Doctor Who goes off with the Groot lady. And they try to find out what happens. And he ends up having to go through this, uses... This is where it's hinted at what the Doctor is. And we don't get an answer quite yet in the episode, but so he uses his power to kind of go for these blades that are spinning to get to a lever, and he's able to reverse the thing and realize who was in charge here. And it was Cassandra. Oh, spoiler! Gotta spoil that. Anyway, yeah. So sorry about that, but yeah, Cassandra was in charge of it. The episode's really good though, and I'm not really explaining it well, but anyway. And I watched these two back to back, Rose and the End of the World. I think that's a fun way to start the show. If it's a good little two-header. Because it's kind of like the first time they meet and the first adventure, if you were so inclined. But anyway, at the end, when everything's settled down, the Doctor takes Rose to another place in time and Earth, and he tells her the truth that he is the last of the Time Lords. His entire race was wiped out. By what? Well, we'll talk about that later. On to episode 3, The Unquiet Dead. The Unquiet Dead is where the Doctor and Rose go to 1890 England, I want to say. I'm really lazy to look at it. Anyway, they go to 1890 England, and they happen to hook up with Charles Dickens. And Charles Dickens and the Doctor and Rose go for some issues here, as it seems like the dead are rising. And it's eventually revealed that, basically, Charles Dickens' maid, who he has essentially adopted and raised because her parents had died, is sort of bringing them back as a conduit. And there's some alien shenanigans too. Like most of these alien stuff. And I'm probably not going to remember most of these alien races because there's a lot. And sorry for that. I'm not very good with long names. Anyway, this is an episode I probably have to say least about because it's a really good episode. It really works well. It's a good little horror episode. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's some good twists and turns. And has a pretty shocking and sad ending. And so far, it was my favorite episode to watch at the time, but the episodes keep getting a bit better. Next, we have a two-parter, which is a thing that you'll see a lot in Doctor Who. Aliens of London and World War III. Well, Aliens of London is no spoiler. No reason to even really say this is a spoiler, as almost immediately, as soon as the episode begins, a spaceship crashes right into the Big Ben. And that leads to the alien in question being captured by some British soldiers. And then there will be some more shenanigans. And basically, this is the one where, if I spoil it, I don't want to spoil too much plot, because there's a lot of good twists and turns here. And it's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. And there's introduction of a character I am going to have to talk about a little bit about. I will only say the Slitheen. The Slitheen aliens are introduced here. And that will be important later. But anyway, definitely these are two really good back-to-back episodes. A lot of fun. And it has some really good moments. This is also played out like a little subplot thing here, is that Mickey and Rose, this is when point out this is when Rose and the Doctor came back to London, and Mickey. This is where a lot of consequences happen from what's happened so far in the show, because they left, and unbeknownst to the Doctor, they have returned a full 18 months later. So Rose has been gone missing. Her mom didn't know where she went. Mickey didn't know where she went. We found out that he was accused of possibly killing her, kidnapping her, I'm assuming. And it's a interesting thing going on, whether or not she's gonna still travel with the Doctor and stuff like that. And there's also stuff with Mickey and her, where the tension is building. Where are they still together? What's the deal with her Doctor? Just really interesting couple episodes here. And now we move on to one of my top 3 of the series 1 of the Eccleston run, and that's Dalek, where we introduce an enemy that will be very important throughout the rest of the show, as far as I can tell so far. I can tell you that all the way in series 3, the Dalek. Now, before we get to that, we start out this one with the Rose and the Doctor go to this underground bunker thing where this rich guy, who it's implied controls the entire world, essentially has an alien hoarding facility. And he's basically like, the Collector from like Guardians of the Galaxy. He's basically that dude, but human. And he's a really interesting character. It really plays off this, and he works well. But anyway, the real thing here is that he has a Dalek. And what is a Dalek? Well, time for visual number. I've lost count at this point. But essentially, the Dalek are what the Dalek are these species that essentially killed off the Time Lords. And what they look like, they basically look like this. They're these sort of metal robot killers with guns and stuff. That's not what they look like on the inside. They have an alien on the inside. And this whole episode is about the last Dalek that's here on Earth, and it gets revived because Rose touches it. And that will be very important later, and it just starts kind of killing everybody. Because Daleks are very strong and very hard to kill. They can be killed, but they're very difficult to kill. And this is the introduction, and it's really well done. Great stuff here. And before I move on to episode 7, I realize I haven't really talked about too much about the characters of Rose, or in this case, the Doctor, or Christopher Eccleston. So, Eccleston, I think it's Eccleston. I keep getting the name wrong too. Okay, so Eccleston, his version of Doctor, besides his look being different, from what I've seen so far, compared to Tennant. So this is my 2 little criteria I have. I don't have a lot here to go off of, so I'm just going by what I've seen. And that's why I kind of want to do this now after I watched a little of both. He is a bit more... He's a bit more quick-witted, a bit more snappy, can be a bit more rude lots of times. And in fact, there's lines about him being rude and stuff like that, where compared to Tennant, he's a little more chill at moments. But he's also kind of stoic and kind of less thinking. He doesn't really take things that seriously. He can have fun. There are funny moments. I'm not trying to say there aren't. That's one of the things. He's a fun adaptation of the character. And my understanding is that also he didn't really enjoy playing this, which kind of sucks. But I think he was good at it. As for Rose, she's a really fun character because she's kind of ready for anything. She's someone who has a really good heart, and she tries to do the best. And she, at this point in the show, has saved the Doctor's bacon a few times. So she is really good at helping out and stuff, even though he kind of takes it for granted at points. But their relationship works well together. It's kind of like 2 friends. They kind of get along, but kind of bust each other's balls or whatever. But anyway, moving on to The Long Game. This is also a really good episode, where the long game in question has to do with this weird little space station, Space Station 5, where essentially the entire human race is on this ship. Well, most human race, some of them are still on Earth. And they are all fed the news, all this news and all these stories, and they are fed it by this group that is basically here to control people. There's also a plot about what's actually happening is I should point out, in Dalek, mild spoiler, that at the end, this one dude that was kind of working. He was kind of the assistant of the dude that ran everything. He's now riding with Rose and the Doctor. You know, make sure you watch Dalek before you watch the long game if you're trying to watch these in the order. You know, unless you've seen them already, you don't have to. But then, you know what I'm saying? You might be a little confused. But anyway, so he's there. So there's this group of people that they meet in meetings stuff, and they're supposed to be. They're trying to vie for positions and get higher up the ladder. And Simon Pegg is here, and he looks like a ice, probably like a frozen bad guy from Frosty the Snowman or something. Maybe Mr. Freeze. And there's a deeper plot here going on where people are being fed the news, being all fed all the news, and being all controlled and kind of manipulated, and all this is going down. And there's these secret positions at the top of the ladder, and really it's all something else. With I said anymore, I'd spoil it, but really like this one, and it will be important later. By the way, Father's Day. I'm surprised I've gotten this far and haven't had to cut the episode short. So Father's Day, straightforward, is Rose waiting to go back in time to see her father, who died while she was just a baby, because he was hit by a car when he was in the middle of the road. Unfortunately, when she goes to do this, she accidentally saves his life. And because she goes to save his life, suddenly, not only is time sort of changed, suddenly there's these evil Reaper-like figures, these sort of like black flashes coming to try and erase everything. That basically sets the tone. This is basically a pretty good horror-themed episode. Essentially, if these things get a hold of you, you're gone. You're just no more. And they have to figure out a way to undo this. Also, Rose's father will be very important later. Now we move on to another two-parter, the second two-parter of the Series 1, the Eccleston series, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. And oh boy, there is a lot to go through here. So I'll go through the simplest one is that we find out they get dropped during World War II England, during the Blitz, when Germans are bombing basically everything in sight in London. And the Doctor starts following this girl who is giving food to hungry kids, basically breaking into houses that are empty and getting the food, giving it to hungry kids. And they're also being stalked by an empty child, a ghost with a gas mask basically attached to his face, constantly asking for its mommy. At one point, the Doctor answers the phone at the TARDIS, which should be impossible, and he hears the voice asking, "Are you my mommy?" And he says, "No, I'm not." Rose gets abducted by a character who will be important throughout the rest of this series, at least, Captain Jack Harkness, who used to be in I don't remember the name of the thing, but it was like a time group, and he decided to leave the time group, and now he's trying to get ransom, and he's in a spaceship, but he has a plan to steal he has another ship he's going to steal to try to get away, and this is all building towards something. So the first episode ends, and the second one we got the Doctor Dances, which is what the name says. There's definitely something going on here, as Rose is starting to kind of like Jack Harkness. Maybe I should show Jack Harkness too. So he's played by, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the guy who played Malcolm Merlin on Arrow and basically anything Arrow related. This guy. This dude right here. So Captain Jack Harkness. Anyway, the second part is basically them kind of figuring out what's going on here, because there's a lot of strange stuff that more people are appearing with gas masks for face and moving around in a strange stupor, and shit's hitting the fan. Anyway, these are really great episodes. They really work really well. I like Captain Jack Harkness as a character. He's fun to watch. I like that he's kind of a trickster, and he's a little shady, but at the same time, he's pretty much a good dude. And we move on to Boomtown, which is essentially a sequel of sorts to the World War III. As now we see, okay, massive spoiler alert, because we are essentially entering the. Uh, this is because this is a sequel that I'm gonna have to tell what happened in that one. So at the end of that episode, the Slovene were basically defeated by Doctor Who and Rose, Doctor and Rose, and after they are defeated, one of the Slovenes is still alive in the body of a woman that she took over, a politician. So basically, at this point, she's easily captured. And this leads to the idea that the Doctor is going to take her to another universe, somewhere she'll be tried, and she will be sentenced to death. And that leads to the question of her basically suggesting if he can really turn her in and get her killed or not. And that leads to them basically going to dinner and having a conversation about it. There's more to it than that. And also, the other plot of this is that Rose meets up with Mickey, since they're back in London in modern day, and they kind of discuss what's going on with the relationship and everything. And then we finally get to the last two episodes, my two favorite episodes of this series, and that's Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, which are the last of Christopher Eccleston. And, oh boy. So, Bad Wolf, essentially, is where Rose and the Doctor get kidnapped, and Rose and Doctor Jack get kidnapped and forced to play these games that are like, one is like Big Brother, one is The Weakest Link, like really close to the weakest, like literally just The Weakest Link but with a robot. And if everybody who loses gets killed. So basically, this is Alice in Borderlands. This is Squid Game, you know. That's basically what we're going for here. But then we go to the Parting of the Ways, and guess what? That was not exactly what's going on. There was something deeper. And this is where we get the big ending, the big stuff going down. The motherfucking Daleks. Motherfucking Daleks are back. They're ready to kill everybody in sight. And basically, everybody seems screwed. This is like the last humans on this. This is station. That's why this is back on Station 5. And there are still humans out in space, but there's no humans on Earth. And there's a lot of stuff going on that I won't spoil. It's a really good episode. But I'll say that there's a lot of loose ends tied up here, and there's a bad wolf. The bad wolf. The episode title before this, the bad wolf, is very important to this series because, or season, if you will, because it's sort of an idea of what's going on, and then at the end, which is the mild spoiler, the Doctor gets to regenerate, and this is the first regeneration that I got to see, where he becomes David Tennant, and as he does, he utters the words to Rose that no matter what happens, you know what happens, just remember, you were fantastic. And you know what? So was I. And I love that line so much. Great line. And great episode. Best of the series. Well, it feels weird to kind of think the last are the best, though it makes sense. But like, this is the last, as far as I know, we see of Christopher Eccleston. And we only got 13 episodes of him. And he was pretty good. I really thought he had a good style to him. Even though I like Tennant a little better, probably. He also was fun to watch. And interesting and unique. And there's the Christmas special, which is a thing that Doctor Who does basically every year, as far as I can tell. And there's some that have multiple years. But because that one is solely focused on David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, as this was the 9th Doctor, he was 10th. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, he was the 9th. He's the 10th. I will cover that in the next video where I talk about some more Doctor Who. But I will say also one last thing is that Tennant's before the iconic line about how Rose is fantastic, he also, the Doctor mentions that he wants to take her to Barcelona and not the place, the planet, which apparently has cats. And then when David Tennant becomes the 10th Doctor, when he regenerates, he says, where was I again? Ah, yes, Barcelona. Which is a fun little line. So, that's where I'll leave off now. This is it's really a rambling video. I don't. But anyway, I really enjoyed the first series. Definitely give it a watch if you check it out if you want to. It's definitely worth seeing. It's a good place to start if you feel like I felt always kind of overwhelmed by the show because there's like 30 years of the show, but really you don't have to start with the old one, especially because they're kind of hard to find without spending a lot of money. So check that out and check out the Eccleston season. It's really great. A lot of good episodes here. I really enjoyed it. And I'm really enjoying the next ones too. And shouts out Sora for getting me to check this out. Kind of give me the idea here. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.